Hey everybody, hope you're doing great today. This is Paul from This Way the Aquarium. Today I want to talk about some issues, challenges, successes that I've had with breeding fish. So I didn't necessarily start out with the intention that I'm going to breed fish and sell them hoping for a profit. As you'll see here, there has been very little profit to be had. So I'll explain the fish that I've got, the fish that we're putting out fry, my steps for trying to sell these fry, and then what I've found during this time frame. So when I originally got these fish over here, they're in this tank over here. It's kind of hard to see. It's covered with algae. And the reason I let the algae overgrow in there is because the fry in there, they're Julidochromis Marksmithi fish, and they enjoy munching on the algae. So I don't have to feed them as frequently. Like with some fry, you have to feed them a couple times a day to make sure that they survive, because usually they have very small stomachs and they need to keep eating. But with this tank over here, just let the algae overgrow. They can go graze on the algae, and I only need to feed them once a day. So originally these fish were in my upstairs tank, the 55 gallon, and it was a Tanganyikan tank. So basically I had Julidochromis, I had some Cyprichromis, and then I also had some Lulupis in there. So the Lulupis, if you don't know, are pretty effective hunters. And so a pair did separate off. I originally started off with 4 Julidochromis. One pair paired off, they started laying eggs. And so I did see occasionally little tiny fry blipping around, but the Lulupis, being who they are, they're very effective hunters. They basically gobbled up all the fry before anyone could grow to larger size. So I decided to take all the inhabitants of that tank, put them downstairs here in my fish room. Basically, I separated out the fish. One of the Julidochromis passed away for whatever reason, probably some aggression, infighting between the Julidochromis. So I remained with 3 from that original tank. So the 2 mating pair, I put them in this 20-gallon tank over here so they could go let nature take its course. The Lulupi and the other Julidochromis went into a 40-gallon down here over behind me. 5 Lulupis, one of them actually paired off, produced some offspring, and only 1 fish survived, which I still have that fish in this tank over here. So they're doing fine in that tank. I don't expect them to breed. Lulupis are a little more tricky when it comes to breeding. But since these Julidochromis were breeding, I figured, hey, let's set it up a separate breeding tank and then go from there. So they were pretty prolific. Basically batch after batch of eggs, hatched a number of fry, and usually in each laying, around 10 to 15 fry would survive and continue to grow. So obviously that 20-gallon over there, it's too small for a bunch of fry, so I set up another 40-gallon breeder that I have over here. And then what I ended up doing is, as those fries grew up, basically pulled them out of that tank, put them into this 40-gallon breeder over here. So at one point in time, I had about maybe close to 50 fry in there. I traded some off to a fish store that's not too far from me, sold some at my Aquarium Society auction, and I've got another auction coming up here soon that I plan on taking some more. So it's been challenging and definitely not profitable. So initially I had somebody last year when these fry were there, they were smaller, so I overpriced them thinking I could get more for these fry than what I could, and didn't come to terms with this other buyer, so didn't sell those fish to him. I don't think he would have bought a whole lot, probably just 3 or 4 or 5 at most. People don't buy a whole lot of these because they can quickly get into fighting amongst each other and kill each other if they're in too close proximity or in a small tank. So with the 6 that I sold at the aquarium auction, that was more of a donation just to get myself in the breeders program. There's a breeders program. You breed a certain amount of fish, you can win an award. It was more just to see if it was something I wanted to do. Obviously, this is the only set of fish that's breeding right now for me. So I gave it to the Aquarium Society, auctioned them off. And for the auction, that basically is considered a donation to the Aquarium Society. But they ended up going for $1 per fry, which isn't a whole lot of money. In the process of looking to unload these other fry, I wanted to trade them into the store. I'm not looking for a great amount of money because I figured at this point in time, you know, hey, just let somebody else enjoy them. Too many fry here. Once they grow out, they're going to overwhelm my tank quickly. So we don't want that. So I went to a number of local stores, went in person, messaged them through Facebook, and then I asked, say, hey, I've got these Julidochromis fry. Are you interested in them? Some stores said no right away because they've got other Julidochromis and they didn't have any more need for that. Another thing I've been hearing from some of these stores is there's not high demand for some of these Tanganyikans, even though they look great. Nice little yellow, black stripes. Interesting behavior, especially the way they parent. And I've seen in this tank over here, later generations can help out a little bit with the fry. So needless to say, went through a couple generations, 40 to 50 fry. So obviously they're starting to get bigger now. Largest size, I think around 2 inches, 2+ inches. Smallest is around 1 inch. So needed to move them. So finally I did find a fish store that was willing to take them, and I just asked, hey, you want to take them on trade? Give me some store credit. So I did take them over to this place, about an hour away, so not a short drive, but they were one of the only ones right now who have been willing to take it. So I went out there, basically netted out about 22 fish out of the tank. It was pretty challenging, as you know, catching fish in a tank, even though this tank, I'm going to show you here shortly, it's not heavily stocked in terms of decorations and whatnot, just to make it easier to catch those fry. But the fry, they're being small, they flit around quickly, stressing them out too, so I'm trying to do it quick enough, get as many out as I can, and then without stressing out too many of them so they get sick or they get injured. So I managed to get 22 out after 30, 45 minutes of working on it. Drove up there, traded them off. So that store didn't really have much in terms of dry goods that I wanted for my aquarium. I'm working on a 33 gallon, so I was looking for some rocks, for some sticks. It's a relatively new store. He's only been open for 4 months. He was willing to basically give me store credit. I could go use it on anything if I wanted to buy a tank, if I wanted to buy equipment and whatnot. Right now I don't need any more tanks. I've already got enough tanks. So I ended up trading it for a couple of electric blue Acaras that I've put in this tank over here. So they're in there. Basically ended up being an even trade. That fish store owner said he would sell them for about $10 a piece. He gave me about 30%, so $3 a piece, basically $66. And so these larger electric blue Acaras were within that price range. So I said, I couldn't really find much gear that I needed over there or much dry goods for stocking my tank. So I just said, hey, just give me the fish. I plan on putting more electric blues in here now. This is going to be an electric blue Acara tank. I've got some corridors in there as well too, and then I'll probably add a third fish just to fill out that tank. If you like this video so far, please hit that like button so others can find it too. So we do also have a fish auction coming up soon at my Aquarium Society. So I plan on taking these fish out, bagging them up. There's a limit on how many of the same breed. So the limit is 5 bags, and I'm probably gonna do no more than 4 to 5 fish per bag, and I'll sell them at the auction. Not expecting to make a whole lot, just to get them moving, get them in somebody else's tank. They can enjoy them as well too. So I'm gonna show you everything here I've got set up. In order to make it less challenging, I set up another 10-gallon tank over here just to put them in there. So that way when I take them out in the morning for that auction, it'll be a little easier than dealing with this 40-gallon over here. So let's take a look at these tanks that the Julidochromis are in right now, and as well as the 10-gallon, I'll be transferring some of the ones to prior to taking them to the auction. So here's the tank where the breeding pair are. They're usually down in that little cave over there. I can see their head popping up. Probably hard to see here in the tank. There's still probably 5 to 7 fry in this tank that I haven't been able to get out. They kind of hang around there. You can see 2 right there. So the plan is to completely take all the fish out of this tank and then move them into this tank over here once I rehome the fry. So as you can see here, the fry, you can see like in this one here, has the algae on the front of the tank. It's been eaten out by the fry. So I pulled 22 the other day, took them to a local fish store. I'm going to pull another 20 to 25 and sell them at a local Aquarium Society auction. And then I'm probably going to convert this into another Tanganyikan tank, move the 2 parents from their tank in that 20-gallon, put them down here. Obviously I'm going to change the decorations in here, create some sort of multi-tiered scape, kind of make it more rock-like, cave-like, and then add some more Tanganyikans. I might move one of the little loopies that I have in here, take them out, just because they are natural predators. Might keep the fry in check if they do start breeding again. So yeah, the adults in the tank over here, they have stopped breeding for now. I haven't seen any new fry in the last couple of months. Here are the 2 electric blue Acara that I got in trade for the Other 22 fish. They've settled in fine. I did not quarantine these fish, thinking later on I might have been wise to do that. I do have another fish in that quarantine tank though that's been through its process, but I'm leaving it in there for now until I get this 40-gallon ready. And that it's also a Tanganyikan fish that will go into this tank here. So far the only other inhabitants here are a couple of corridoras, and they seem to be doing okay, but I need to keep an eye because I did not quarantine these tanks. But my guess is, looking at the store I got it from, they do a pretty good job with their fish, and so should be fine here. But I always recommend quarantining your fish prior to putting them in their new tank, especially if you got other inhabitants. That way, if they do get sick, you can treat them in the quarantine tank and without bothering the other inhabitants. So this is the 10-gallon tank I just set up. Got the heater plugged in. There's a filter that's not running right now. Plan on just grabbing one of the existing filters in that tank. And the reason for this tank here is just it'll make it easy. On the day of the auction, I need to quickly bag those fish up and then drive out there and drop them off for the auction. So it'll be much easier to net them out of this 10-gallon here as compared to this 40-gallon over here. What I ended up having to do is take out these plants here, these rocks, and then I did remove that filter, and I was able to coax the fish to kind of go in the corner over here and then just scoop net them, getting like 3-4 at a time until I got 22. At that point I was like, oh, I got enough. It's pretty challenging to catch these little fry, even in an open tank like this, but it'll be much easier once I transport these guys sometime during the week into that tank over there, and then from there I'll be able to move them to the bags prior to auction. So I got about 20 of the fry moved into this 10-gallon tank here, just to make it easier to net them out and put them in their bags. We got the bags labeled as according to the Aquarium Society instructions. Move the filter from the other tank over there into this tank just so it stays cycled. There's actually 2 filters in that tank there, so there's still an existing one, and I put a new one in there to cycle for my new tank as well. So as you can see, these guys are in here. I believe it's more than 20, but I plan on only giving away 20, and then whoever's left in here will also go back into the other tank until we can figure out where else to trade them in. There's a few left in this tank. Gonna move them back to the main tank. So I did end up getting a check for $40 from the Aquarium Society just this past week. So it ends up being around $2 per fish. I basically had 4 fish in each bag, sold 5 bags. So a little more than I expected, but certainly nothing very profitable that I would consider doing this or doing something money for my hobby-wise. Based on all the work I put in, the time I spent maintaining the tanks, feeding the fish, buying a special food for when they're fry, and then the time catching them, making sure they're properly bagged up, they're safe, for the amount of money that I made from trading in the fish to get these 2 larger fish and then selling them at auction, in my opinion, is not worth it. Now, as I mentioned before, these fish are not in very high demand, so it's a little harder to sell. It's possible that if you're breeding fish that are in higher demand, or if you're doing a lot of breeding and you've got a bunch of different fish, there's always that possibility you're able to partner with a local aquarium store, or if you get into shipping online, you might be able to make better money that way. Interesting. It was an interesting experiment, something that I don't necessarily want to do again in the future just because of all the logistics involved. Especially in my case, I do have additional tanks where I can place some of them, but if I go and do what I want to do with this other tank here where I've got the Julidochromis, set it up as a different tank, it's not going to be possible. I'll have to get another tank, and that's something that at this point in time, for this side of the fish room, I'm maxed out in the tanks that I want to establish. Having this many tanks, as we all know, takes effort, takes time to maintain everything, to keep everything looking nice. Still have one final batch of fry that I need to remove from the parent's tank, bring them down in here. There's a bunch of fry in here as well too. So I'm going to try to trade them into some other local stores here. I'm going to have to go visit a few more stores and chat with them, see if they're willing to take them in on trade. If not, worst comes to worst, there's another fall auction coming for Aquarium Society, and I'm pretty sure at that point in time, even with their 5-bag limit of the same species, I should be able to auction off the rest of the fish then. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever bred fish for profit? Was it worthwhile in your opinion? What fish in particular did you sell? That's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.